Hi there, welcome to Isle Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Sagittarius energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because everybody's at different emotional maturity levels, and they're going to handle this energy differently. Sagittarius is fire sign energy, and in shadow it can kind of represent, we still got a lot of lessons to learn, and we could kind of be more inspired by ourselves, by the world, by these things we want to indulge in that we are sure will make us happy. And we're tipped more in favor of being about ourselves and the world. You can be a loving person and motivated by love, but first 30-40 years of our life we're pretty caught up in these things of the world that we want. And High Vibe Sagittarius is about higher learning and education and philosophy and kind of learning to wrap your brain around this game of life, and based on the lessons and life experiences we've had, kind of getting more clear about what our truth is and what our truth isn't, and different ideas of what we think is just and fair, and if we do want to temper our more worldly egoic nature, or if we don't. And the people who kind of don't like feeling manipulated by them, by their own shadow nature, by other people in shadowy energy, by the world, by their ego, by their lust, by their greed, those people do the work to free themselves from things that manipulate them. To look at life as an adventure to be lived, and life is all about learning these lessons. So it might be something more that people who might be a Sagittarius sun sign or have significant Sagittarius placements might be dealing with right now. But we all tap into Sagittarius energy, so it can affect all of us. I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's the Three of Pentacles. It can kind of talk about the foundation that we operate from. And the Three of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, which can be about what we view as victorious and successful. Is it more that it has to be about us or these things or indulgence, or is it kind of working cooperatively with our more worldly nature and our more hopeful believing nature to work together cooperatively with our more hopeful believing nature, kind of in the driver's seat, and having hope and faith and belief, and kind of encouraging our more immature, shadowy nature in truth and love. Some people are going to temper their more egoic nature. At the heart of the reading is the Strength card of Leo, which can represent we're either more in our ego nature or we're more tempered in our ego, and a little more hopeful and believing, temper our more beastly, immature nature and our more worldly nature. So let's go see what's going on in Sagittarius energy. We start out with two cards not showing themselves, and at the end is the Ten of Swords. So there's some people, everybody has gone through experiences that didn't work out the way they wanted. We can either act more in pride and ego and keep feeling left out in the cold, make decisions more out of pride and ego or fear and insecurity, and be sure that we're going to be happy. We view life the way we view it, we think the way we think, and we justify why we do what we do. In between the Ten of Swords and over here we have the Six of Swords. It's kind of like the Five of Pentacles also represents the Four of Swords. And the Five of Pentacles has to do in our Taurus energy with our philosophy of life, kind of our truth. And the Four of Swords in Libra energy has also to do with our truth and what we think is just and fair. And people are going to handle situations differently. If some people are more motivated by the world or themselves, if they're in relationships with people that's not their truth, they might get out of those relationships. This isn't my truth. I think I'll be happy holding back from that dream and those people and become independent of them and if something happened in my life where I felt backstabbed and betrayed and I'm in my ego about it, some people could decide that's it. No longer do I believe in love. And I'm just going to be single and kind of indulge myself in relationships from now on. Other people have went through situations, and some people could be going through them right now, and they temper their ego about it. Do they feel left out in the cold and in their ego about it? Yeah. But they know that tempering their more immature egoic nature is the answer. And so between the Ten of Swords and the Six of Swords, they take that time to heal and maintain balance within themselves, stay focused on truth and love, offer love to the situation and to themselves to deal with the truth of the situation, because they don't want to repeat that pattern again. And they need to see the truth of why didn't some of those things work out the way I wanted. And that can take time. People can take time, time to do this work within themselves. And to kind of see in the Four of Pentacles can kind of talk about, what is the foundational truths that I make up the foundation of how I think, how I feel, what I think is just and fair, and that the foundation I want to manifest from. And the high vibe people want to manifest from truth and love. Feeling balance within themselves, not being tipped out of balance, not indulging poor behavior in themselves or others. And those people are able to move forward, and that helps them kind of come out the other side in the Nine of Pentacles, feeling more stable, more grounded within themselves. And high vibe energy is willing to get out of your pride and your ego to accept the truth, because the truth sets you free. If something didn't work out the way I wanted, I have to be willing to see the truth of maybe where I needed to heal and grow and mature myself, where I needed to temper my ego, and also realize everything doesn't turn out the way I want. Even if you were a just and fair and loving and encouraging person, you're dealing with other human beings that have their own truth and their own idea of what they think is just and fair, and their fears and their insecurities and their pride and their ego and their defensiveness and all those things, right? We don't give up our dreams. We believe that, God has a plan for my life. And if some of the people in my life, if we had been more on the same page and we had the same truth, we kind of would have moved forward together in that way. So, but my dream, the Six of Swords, is Aquarius energy. I have my idea of the dream life. They have their idea of the dream life. Some people don't look at life from a higher perspective. Some people don't have hope and faith and belief in themselves or in others or in love, and they hold back from looking at life from a higher perspective. Some people just get all caught up in their head. All their fears and their insecurities, and oh my gosh, and, so afraid that they're going to be left out in the cold, and then they kind of sabotage a relationship. How differently do you act in a relationship or even a job, having a little more hope and faith and belief in yourself and in others, that you're able to temper your fears and your insecurities to move forward and work together with people cooperatively and align with harnessing these energies in a more high vibe way, that I choose to align with my more hopeful believing nature. And I might have some of my own fears and insecurities about believing in myself, and I might be working with some people that some of the people might seem a little shadowy, some of the people could seem okay, and I'm going to kind of listen to my intuition about who's who, and I'm going to focus more of my effort on and working with people who do seem to be more stable, grounded, emotionally mature, more hopeful, more believing, more just. High vibe energy would be just, fair, emotionally mature, stable, grounded, kind of loving and encouraging. Those are the people I'm going to more invest my time and energy into. And the people that, as I'm moving forward in my life, I don't know, kind of with in a shadowy energy, it can be people who are like, I have this way of operating in the world, and this is how I like to do it. And we could feel like some people are repeating some old patterns, like, well, I've already lived my life like that. I've already hung out with people who act like that. Just like you can meet people who are even 45 years old, men or women, and some of the women can be catty and just manipulative or prideful or whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in junior high again. And you can meet men that are like, I know I worked somewhere once where there was a managing organization kind of, and it was like, oh my gosh, with the men, with some of the men, it was like, oh my gosh, you are acting like a ninth grade bully trying to intimidate and control people to run this kind of organizational group. And it's like, oh my gosh, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's embarrassing that you are kind of in charge of this organization because you're acting like you're some 15 or 18-year-old bully, right? So, you've already been in relationships with people who act like that, who harness these energies in a shadowy way. And the Ten of Swords is Gemini energy about our free will and just kind of seeing the truth that some people in their free will are kind of controlling, manipulative, prideful, egotistical, really operating in a shadowy Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Capricorn energy and Virgo energy within themselves and anybody can harness those traits and characteristics. They don't have to be those zodiac signs, sun signs anyway. That some people are like, no, I have this, I am not I have this way of living life. That's my truth. That's how I'm going to keep moving forward. I refuse to temper my ego. This is how I'm going to keep moving forward. And some people are like, yeah, I've already known people like you, and I can't believe that maybe you're so immature or something, right? And so then other people are like, no, I'm happy to get away from those people. And some people did. You could have left a job, a friendship group, a community, an organization, or whatever, a relationship, and you freed yourself. Between the 5 and the 3 is the Two of Pentacles, where we can kind of be going back and forth because we'd all like some of the things that we've invested in. It doesn't matter what it is, a job, friendship, or relationship. We would like them to work out. We don't really want to have to keep finding a new job, a new friendship, a new relationship, right? But how long can you keep staying in situations where you feel like people are trying to manipulate you or control you, or that they're more about themselves, or they're more about the ego and the image and the status of it, and they think you should stay in it because of the ego and the image and the status, or put up with their abuse, or put up with their immaturity, or because it might. Both Taurus and Capricorn energy, and of course Leo energy, things can look very stable and abundant and kind of victorious and successful, is kind of what Leo energy can talk about. And of course, the Taurus and Capricorn energy can talk about stability and security. That you won't leave this job, you won't leave this friendship, you won't leave this relationship, because I know I'm more manipulated by these things of the world, and I think you are too. And some of those people could have been shocked that some people said, no, I would have liked this to have worked, but the Ten of Pentacles could kind of talk about everybody has to work together, cooperatively, if we're going to bring a dream into reality. It's hard for one person or a smaller group of people, 6 would be smaller than 10, trying to move something forward when other things or people are being kind of like dead weight. You know, they might want to come with, like, well, I want to come with, I just want us to keep doing what we've been doing. You know, I want to hold back from becoming independent, is what the Nine of Pentacles can talk about. In order to become independent of this old way of acting or interacting, I'd have to see the truth of it, and I'd have to detach from it to kind of see the truth of how this isn't working out to bring this dream into reality. And I'd have to hold back from that idea of a way of moving forward. And I'd have to see the truth. And then in my philosophy of life, I'd have to see the truth, and my philosophy of life, I'd have to look at life differently. And then the 4 plus the 5, I would become independent of an old way of viewing myself, viewing others, viewing relationships, this idea of how I might think or feel or act or react that I think is just and fair. You know, and the more... But it requires some people to see the truth. And some people are like, nope, that's not my truth. I want to keep moving forward like this. You know, and who are the people who want things to keep moving forward more the way they've been? Is the people who benefit from it staying the way it is. They think it's just and fair. Some other people might not feel it's just and fair. Well, it works for me. Well, I'm going to let you go try to find someone else to want to work with you. And I think I'm willing to go through that period of feeling left out and cold to leave this behind. And it's kind of in a world of duality, again, between the 10 and the 6 is the four swords of Libra energy represented by the scale of justice. We live in a world of duality. People have free will to create a little hell on earth, or they have the free will to temper their ego, their fears, their insecurities, being more about themselves, being more bossy or controlling or manipulative, to work together with people in a more just and fair way. And with some of the people in our life, that's what we're doing with each other. I don't want to let you go. I think, you know, I enjoy you. I like you. I love you. You know, you help me look at life from a different perspective. I enjoy your company, you know, whatever. And so then we all want to hold on to it, and we do work together cooperatively in truth and love. And just like some people are moving forward in those kind of friendships, relationships, and workplaces, there's other people who agree that they're both more in their more worldly view of life, or whatever it is they make their life about. That is their truth. Like, well, we both like to indulge, or we all like to indulge in these things, or we like to make our life about these things. And maybe not more about being more authentic and loving, you know? And those people will keep moving forward together, probably, for as long as, you know, everything's working out there. And of course, there's always the people that can't decide. Well, I don't know if I want to become independent of my more worldly view of life, or be more about me, or the ego, or the image, or if I want to be in relationships with more just, fair, loving people, because those people want me to be more just and fair and authentic and loving. And, you know, that's the thing. In a world of duality where people have free will, there's always the people that have always been more motivated and inspired by love. Have they been more immature and caught up in the world and had lessons to learn in life? Yeah, but they were willing to learn lessons. And when they saw, oh, things, you know, I kind of been on this path a long way, and I have a dream, and if I keep doing this, my dreams aren't going to come into reality. You know, I go through these phases of life. I might live life like I did when I was 18, 21, 25. But if I don't kind of see that some things need to change, it's one thing to live your life at a phase of life and kind of learn the lessons you meant to learn from it. And then you kind of, the Ten of Cups is Pisces energy, about connecting in with your emotions and your intuition. And, if I want a dream to come into reality, I have to let a phase of life be a phase of life. If I don't want to keep living my life like that forever. And I need to temper my more worldly, egoic, self-indulgent nature, immature nature. And I need to start investing more in things that are in alignment with me kind of going to that next phase of life. And that's what some people do, but some people don't. And the thing is, when we don't face our fears or our insecurities, we can think, or kind of grow up and mature ourselves, we can think, no, I can keep doing this. I'm sure it'll all work out fine. But it kind of can start to erode our foundation of self, even though we might not want to see the truth, that the reason why we might not move forward a little differently is because we would have to kind of face our fears about moving forward a little differently. And then we have fear, and then the Four of Pentacles can be like, no, I'm afraid of becoming independent of this way of living life, and I don't know what's going to happen out there. So then they keep staying here and repeating an old pattern. And I just think when you're not kind of healing and growing and maturing yourself and facing your fears and your insecurities, it kind of wears on your foundation. But people can keep, shadowy energy can be, I want to keep staying in denial of the truth. I am not willing to move forward in life differently, or look at life from a higher perspective, or temper my ego, or deal with my fears. I think I'll be happy making my life more about either me or these things I indulge in, or whatever it is I make my life about. They just need to find other people who keep wanting to live their life that way. High vibe energy is about giving birth to new things. Kind of you shed old layers of yourself and face your fears to kind of give birth, just like you did. Quit being an 18-year-old, more to be like a 21-year-old. And some people, they got to a phase of life and it's like, no. It's one thing to keep moving forward in things. Part of just kind of going with the flow is where you keep growing and healing and maturing yourself. You can do that with certain people, and I suppose we could look at it that some people's might be a much slower journey, just like some people kind of learned a lot of lessons at different times in life, and some other people just breezed through it really fast, and other people went through it really slow. And the whole thing is that everybody has to do what they feel comfortable with, right? It's like, if any of you have sang karaoke, or if you ever had to speak in front of other people, like a speech, if you weren't ready to do that, you're not ready to do it. And we all might have to wait until we feel comfortable within ourselves. And everybody is on their own journey, and everybody has their own fears and their own insecurities. But, if we have a dream we want to come into reality, we could offer love and encouragement to people. But if we start to feel like their dream is different than our dream, that how their idea of the dream life again, or how they want to live their life, we kind of see maybe that in our philosophy of life and how we want to move forward is different. And it kind of seems at a core foundational level, our truth is different. And again, some people are more about being in a relationship more out of fear and insecurity. And some employers can try to use that to keep people in a job. And some people are more immature, and it is try to manipulate and control people. And other people are more motivated by truth and love and being encouraging and supportive. It's like, I'm going to go find the people who are a little more hopeful and believing and loving and encouraging. Because that's my philosophy of life, and that's how I like to work together with people. And if I'm in relationships with people where that's not their truth, it's kind of like, I wish you peace, but this might, in your Four of Swords of Libra energy, of what makes you feel stable and grounded and balanced within yourself and makes you happy, then you should live your life like that. You should do what makes you happy. And out of love for you, I wish you, who wants to, the fives can talk about change. If people want to move forward in a certain way that they think would make them happy, who am I to try to stop them or change them? And if I have my way of kind of living life and it can be different than other people, who are they to try to stop me? It should be from love. I accept that you have your dreams and aspirations. I have mine. And hopefully with some people, and we have people in our life, we know all sorts of different people. We're all on different ways of living life. And they're like, hey, you go do you. And we're like, yep, you go do you. Are we going to get in a more involved friendship or relationship? No, because we know we're different. And that's okay. It's just harder if it's a friendship or relationship where we did think we were going to, at one time, it seemed like we were on the same page. And then over time, things can change. And some people kind of healed and grew and matured themselves. Sometimes we could have gotten in a friendship or relationship because something else didn't work out. We kind of felt left out in the cold. And we could have kind of been loving and encouraging people to each other. And then once we kind of work through that stage and we feel more stable and grounded and balanced within each other, then we might start to think, well, now how are we going to move forward? And that's when we could kind of see that, we could have come into each other's lives to help each other through a life experience. But then we could have also learned during that time period that your truth and kind of what drives and motivates you and my truth and what kind of drives and motivates me is different. And of course, I think the people who might be a little more lack hope and faith and belief in themselves, people who might be a little more like to be more manipulative or controlling in a relationship, and they could have, people can temper their more shadowy nature out of their want to be in a friendship or relationship or have a job, right? But then as time goes by and they feeling more stable and grounded within themselves again, even though the people they were in a relationship with could have been people who helped them feel more stable and grounded, that really wasn't their truth. And, you kind of want to live your more authentic life. And I really do like to be more controlling or manipulative in a relationship. I really do. I really don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. I might have had to create the illusion I was more motivated by love than I am, but I'm really more about me, or I'm more about the world, or money, or materialism, or I really want to be single and play the field, but again, and there's some people that's always why they get in a relationship. I'm in my ego, things didn't work out. I know I'm going to go get in a relationship with someone. I'm going to go find someone else who isn't moving forward with someone. And I'm going to try to, create an illusion I'm on the same page as them. And then I'll kind of, I like being in a relationship. But oh, by the way, because shadowy energy is the opposite of high vibe Leo. High vibe Leo is you are being authentic. You are who you say you are. And that's high vibe energy. Shadowy is that I'm trying to manipulate and control people into believing I'm a certain type of person. So they will hire me, be my friend, date me, marry me. And then, if I can get you to move forward with me in it, I'll be happy that you bought into the illusion of who I am. But by the way, This isn't going to go the way you think it's going to go because that's not my truth. And then they start to hold back from really bringing that dream more into reality. And then the people in their life are like, wait a minute, what's going on? I thought we were all moving forward to bring this dream into reality. And it's like, I'm good. We should like stay right here. And the same way, like say you're in a job and you thought as time went by, you know, you were going to learn more things, you're going to make more money, take on more responsibility. And if you're that type of person who is kind of motivated within yourself to do those kind of things, you know, you thought that was like the dream job. And then you get in the job and then it's like, oh, yeah, no, I'm not sure if that's ever really going to happen. It's like, what? And people can do that in relationships too. Oh, I'll create the illusion. Oh, yeah, your dreams will come into reality with me. And then once they get the people in it, then it's like, yeah, now we're going to do it this way. It's like, what? Yeah, I have this way of living life and I want to do it like this. Well, that's kind of more about you, just your viewpoint and your dream. And, you know, that isn't high vibe Capricorn energy. It's supposed to be, I have my dream and aspiration in the one pentacle. You have your dreams and aspirations. And together we're supposed to have this common dream and goal that we're both supposedly motivated and inspired by. And if it's romantic, it's supposed to be truth and love. And love is supposed to be just and fair. And then it is about bringing this new dream into reality, our own unique thing, different than what it might have been like when you grew up or other relationships that you were in. Because I'm not those people. But that's where some people have a problem because they like that old way. And they don't want to detach from that old way of living life or viewing life. It's just to find someone else to like take the place of those people. And then let's do it this way. And that isn't working together cooperatively to bring a dream into reality. It's more their way. And that's when some people now are deciding to get out of those relationships. Some people have already done it. And they had to go through this period of working through the fact that something they had wanted to have a dream come into reality didn't work out the way they wanted. To go through this period of being sad and feeling left out in the cold. But they worked through going back and forth about it because I don't want to, and so they reflect on the truth. Again, between here, in their philosophy of life is, I do offer love to the situation. That's truth and love. High vibe Libra, within yourself. I'm going to offer truth and love to the situation to work through going back and forth. And high vibe Capricorn's about freeing yourself, because shadowy Capricorn's represented by the devil. And the devil looks just like the Lover's card, except there's a devil there instead of an angel, and the people have chains and shackles on them. I can love people, and it's kind of a not healthy, just, fair, balanced relationship. Could have a lot of the things of the world that I want, or just really appeal to me more in my worldly nature that I'd like it to work. And stability or security and things like that, right? But I have a dream. And I'm not willing to give up my dream, so I stay more focused on what I do want than what I don't have. And in the energy of love, I keep offering love to me. And I view high vibe Leo as giving yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. Because apparently some of those people aren't. So I need to give it to myself. And that also is getting out of our more codependent energy. I don't want to repeat that pattern. There's things about it I didn't like, or somebody showed me that apparently that wasn't their truth, and I need to accept the truth of it. What wasn't I seeing about that person? What could have made me get in it, stay in it for as long as I did? I don't want to repeat that pattern. So the tens of the Ten of Swords and the Ten of Cups can be, I want to close out this cycle and I want to learn the lessons I was meant to learn from it so I can have a new beginning in truth and love. And I'm not going to move forward until I feel ready to move forward. And I'm not going to go do things or get involved in things and move forward with things if I think I would take that action out of a shadowy reason. More of fear, insecurity, or codependency, or lust or greed, right? I'm going to listen to my intuition and get to know people, take my time, whether it's looking for a new job, new friend, new romantic relationship. And it kind of makes me think of preparation meets opportunity. You want to be available. There can be people around you. If you're single, there could be other people who are single, but your intuition kind of tells you to hold back from those people because you kind of think they have that same way of kind of looking at life and viewing relationships and their idea of what they think is just and fair. And the people in your life who are loving and encouraging, you're enjoying your time with those people. You want to be free to be able to get in friendships and relationships with people when you come across the people who are in that right energy. And so, if you're single, I'm going to enjoy my life, my job, my career, all the other things that are part of the puzzle piece of parts of my idea of the dream life, and enjoying my life, healing and growing and maturing myself. But I'm going to keep maintaining balance within myself. And then from the Four of Swords to the Six of Swords is the Two of Swords, of listening to your intuition about when your intuition tells you you are ready to move forward. You have learned the lesson you're meant to learn. You do feel stable and grounded. You have learned the lessons within yourself. You're ready to go out there and listen to your intuition. Or if you've already done that and you've been moving forward in that way, knowing your worth and value and looking for other people who know their worth and value, who aren't repeating some of these old patterns. And those are the people that you'll move forward with. And the shadowy people might be mad because I think shadowy people want high vibe loving people to indulge them in a relationship. They hope you'll keep feeling left out in the cold, holding back from believing in yourself and believing in your dreams. And they can indulge being in a relationship with you, not treating you the way you treat them. And then you move on, and then those people are like, shit, now I feel left out in the cold. But because they're not willing to become independent of some ways of thinking or believing or perceiving the world or these ideas of living life or what they think is just and fair, and might be kind of prideful, might be more ego-focused, materialistic-focused, or just lack hope and faith and belief in themselves or others, they're probably going to keep moving forward, in that philosophy of life. And if they have people in their life, friends and family who are willing to indulge them in that way or live their life that way too, they're going to align with those people that are aligned with their truth. And if there's some people in their life where it's like, you're not indulging me enough, or you want me to change, they could get out of those relationships. And if there's people in their life who are more codependent on them, think the way they think, they can move forward with those people. Up here, we start out with 3 cards that aren't showing themselves, so that everybody can see people moving forward in life. Everybody can look stable, grounded, abundant in some ways, attractive, charming, loving, status image, whatever it is that people got, right? And everybody can see people moving forward. It's just to realize that sadly, shadowy people don't want you to keep loving and believing in yourself. And the loving people do want you to love and encourage, believe in yourself and for yourself from things that manipulate you. But sometimes we can also get in relationships, and some people are getting in those, some people were in those, where it seems like you meet someone where it's like, oh my gosh, they're not more immature, they're not more this. It seems like, ah, this is a more balanced relationship than some of the other relationships I've been in. And they could seem to be more stable, grounded, loving, and encouraging. The only thing is, again, as time goes by, which some of you already experience, that some other people are going to experience, is that as time goes by, you kind of realize what more drives and motivates them. And with some of those people, it is more the ego, the image, the status, the money, the materialism, how they benefit, but it's not really love. It looks like love, quacks like love, but it's not really, it doesn't become a more deep, meaningful relationship. And that's when people can feel left out in the cold and like their dream isn't going to come into reality. And that's high vibe Leo, I wanted deep, meaningful relationships. Do I like some of these things in the world? Yeah, we all do. But I just thought it was going to be a more balanced relationship where, yes, we want these things in the world, but we also want truth and justice and fairness and love. And that's when you find out the other people are like, no, that's not my truth, but let's keep doing this. This works. This is good. It's like, well, it works for you because I'm being authentic and loving and encouraging. And you could operate more from your ego, which can just be people's emotionally defensive nature to love, and they like to live more from their mind than their heart. And they don't really open up themselves. I was like, I feel like I'm going to feel left out in the cold, kind of like in a more shadowy Taurus relationship where it has a lot of these things in the world and it can look just and fair and it looks like I have everything that a person could maybe want to be happy. But if I don't have love, it's kind of like a resounding gong. So, high vibe people have worked through how they didn't realize when they got in relationships with some people in their life. And now, as getting to know people, trying to figure out how people really harness this energy. Because you've learned these lessons in life to detach from harnessing them in a more worldly way. And you want to be in relationships with other people who do, because you've been in relationship with people who you didn't know harness them in a more worldly, shadowy way. The Eight of Cups, the Page of Wands, and the Death card. So, some people are kind of more immature and kind of have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Maybe because they haven't learned to love and believe in themselves, it's being in more codependent energy and wanting to be in relationships with other people who are more codependent and willing to stay in a relationship, to be in a relationship and make the life more about them or these things of the world or the fear or the insecurity. And I think we all have been more codependent because we grow up in families and we have people and then we have our friends and stuff growing up, and we haven't learned in high vibe Leo to kind of play that role in our own life, to feel more stable and grounded and be loving and nurturing, again, like being our own best mother coach voice and in our own head. And so we can look to other people to play that role in our life. And then that kind of puts us in a more codependent relationship. And we're afraid of becoming independent of it. And then, though, the people we get in relationship with are happy. We have fear of loving and believing in ourselves. And that's when some of those people can be kind of hurtful or unkind or manipulative because I don't think you'll love and believe in yourself. And I think I can do some of this shady shit. And I think you'll stay. And that's like shadowy Scorpio. Shadowy Scorpio can be, I don't want to have to temper my ego. I don't want to look at life differently. I want to keep moving forward the way I've been moving forward. And also it can be people who are more about two cards that can be about indulging themselves in a relationship. And it's not about being in a deep, meaningful relationship. And they might not want, you know, again, yeah, indulging in a relationship is operating more from your defensive, egoic nature. I don't really want to do love. I maybe don't believe in it. But it really can be, and it could just be having these immature ways of viewing relationships that it's just shadowy Scorpio. It's more emotionally shallow and superficial. They might think they're a more emotionally mature person than they are. They might enjoy relationships. They might put work and effort to try to make them move forward in a just and fair way, but it will never become a more deep, meaningful relationship if they never connect in with themselves more emotionally and temper their ego and their fear and their immature ways of viewing life to kind of grow up and mature themselves. And some people can be more intimidating and controlling in a relationship. And they can think it is more about them and think it should be more about them. And that you should temper your ego to be in a relationship with them. And we all kind of temper our ego in a relationship. I know it can't be all about me, that I can't just do whatever the hell I want, and that there might have to be some things that are sacrificed that you don't do if you want to work together with other people. But, there's those people who think, well, no, it just should be more about me. You're the one who's supposed to more temper yourself. Kind of indulge me in my immature ways, or my fear, or my insecurity, or my pride, or my ego, or whatever the hell else they do. They do not want to become independent or maybe see the truth that they even think this way. No, I'm loving and encouraging. I'm supportive. And in a lot of ways they can be. But and it could just be a more worldly view of life. And they don't think there's any other purpose to being on this planet than what the world says you should make your life about. The world says this is what we should make our life about. We'll have status, image, money, stability, security, or we're in a relationship. What more is there? Well, the high vibe people are more aligned in their fire sign energy of themselves, which the page can represent Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I kind of have that more hopeful, believing spirit. Life is about learning lessons. All these are stages of life that we go through, and then we face our fears, we work through some of our fears and our insecurities, and we go to the next stage of life. We become independent of some old ways of being. There's also a Bible verse that something like, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child, and when I grew up, I put away my childish ways of being. And at every stage of our life, because there's layers and layers of our more worldly, shadowy nature that we have the possibility to free ourselves from, to be more independent of those things so they don't more manipulate us in our ego. To really be more authentically ourselves in the world, to believe in ourselves, believe in our dreams, to quit letting our immature nature, our self-indulgent nature, other people in our life, the world, manipulate us to make us try to more conform to the world. And I don't, in high vibe, it's like, I don't want all Taurus can be all these unwritten rules in our head of how we need to live our life, and I need to look like this, and I need to act like that, and talk to these people and not those people, and I only have worth and value if I have this or I have that. It's like, no, I believe there's a higher truth and justice in the world, not trying to cause chaos or disruption in the world. I want to go out in the world and treat other people the way I like to be treated. No malicious intent. Not trying to manipulate or control anybody. Just to live my authentic life. And for people who have a lot of things that kind of manipulate them, it's just like, what? You're not conforming to the rules, and you're going to that place, or you're doing this, or you have your hair that color, or you did this, or, we don't do that. And it's like, high vibe energy is, I believe in a higher truth and justice than making my life of conforming to the world, because depending on where we live, look how different our life could be. Show your hair, don't show your hair. Cut your hair, don't cut your hair. Wear clothes or whatever you want, or you have to cover your wrists or your neck or your feet or your ankles, God forbid. Dance, don't dance. Pray 15 times a day, or just do it as you want throughout your day, whatever spiritual practice you have. High vibe energy is, I want to live my authentic life. And we were all given our more creative, inspired nature. We all have our own unique talent, skills, and interests. And Aquarius can be being unique, not conforming to the world, not following the herd, not playing the games and indulging other people for, I don't know, how it can benefit you in some way. I want to live my just authentic life. Who wants to live their authentic life? How about I treat you the way I like to be treated, and I treat you in a just and fair manner? Who wants to come with? And some people are like, no way, that is outside of my comfort zone. And again, it could be because other people in their life wouldn't like it, or that's just not their truth. Just not ready to live their more authentic life. And it's like, well, I'm ready to live my more authentic life. And if there was people you were in a relationship that when you were more codependent, and people who right now might want you, whether it's friends or family members or anybody, it's like, I'm not going to keep indulging you in your poor behavior. If I've been loving and encouraging and I see you're not interested in taking over that role within yourself, and like you want me to be there forever to do that for you because you want to be indulged, but I don't want to put in the work and effort to heal and grow and mature myself. I like it when you keep being just loving and encouraging to me, and I don't want to have to learn to do that in myself. It's like, I don't want to be in a more codependent relationship. I can be a loving and encouraging person in your life, but I have my own things that I would like to invest time, energy, and effort into, and other people who are willing to do that work within themselves than people who are like, I don't know, poor, pitiful me or something, right? And we all could have been there at different stages of life, right? And that can be, again, where people, it's like, well, I don't want you to have your dream come into reality. I liked it when your dream was to make it more about indulging me. Well, it'd be one thing, you might do that when you have children, and then it's like, pumpkin, go spread your wings and fly. It's kind of why I named my channel the way I did. I alone fly. Everybody has to learn to love and believe in themselves, but some people don't want to do that. And actually, some people, it's like, well, that's not my job. I shouldn't have to do that. Other people are supposed to do that for me. Probably because they've had people who've indulged them all their life. And some people didn't indulge them. They're just very immature and egotistical and self-centered or something, and think it should all be about them. Well, those people got some growing up to do. And they're going to have to go out in the world and, I guess, try to find someone who wants to play that role in their life, because that's the thing. There's always people who might want to be a counterpart to a certain type of relationship dynamic, and you found out that wasn't for you. Maybe at one time it was, but it's like, I'm done trying to change people. And I've realized, and I maybe didn't realize it before, because if I'm kind of driven and motivated when I'm in loving and encouraging and supportive environments, even if I'm not, to heal and keep growing and maturing myself. And I've realized some people aren't. And it's like, yep, not going to try to change anybody, because trying to change people at a core foundational truth they hold within themselves is about impossible. People have to make that free will decision on their own. So then high vibe energy can be being a good leader in the world. Some of the people who you've moved away from, they know you love them. They know you wanted a dream to come into reality with them, but you weren't going to keep indulging them in poor behavior. And then some of those people are too prideful to admit that they had some growing up and maturing to do of their own. It's like, okay, well then you keep living your life like that. What's coming up for the high vibe people they don't see coming? The Six of Cups, the Five of Pentacles, the World, the Nine of Cups. And the reason is because of the Hierophant, which is Five of Pentacles energy of Taurus. You grew up and matured yourself. You were kind of caught up in the world. You had your fears, you had your insecurities. You were more caught up in things of the world at different times in your life. And you saw how you really kind of needed to walk the talk and practice what you preach. And you needed to reconcile yourself with issues from your past that could have made you feel left out in the cold, that could have made you keep repeating certain patterns. Because we'll all keep repeating certain kind of patterns and relationship dynamics. Can be because it's in our comfort zone and we're used to dealing with people like that. And eventually it's like, how much of my life have I spent being... It's good, again, to be loving and encouraging to people. It's one thing to be loving and encouraging, kind of keep your distance a little bit if you know your truth is different. Maintain your independence, like keep people in the friend zone. It's another thing to get yourself involved in a relationship and like, oh, I'm sure they'll change. I'm sure they'll quit being immature or defensive or hurtful or unkind. You know? And then you got to emotionally disentangle yourself. And you didn't want to keep being in relationships where you felt left out in the cold or hurt or being manipulated. You know, because people can even use your loving nature to try to manipulate you. To keep you to stay in something that's not based on truth and love, and the other people think it's just and fair. And it's kind of like, when am I going to stand up for my truth and take action in my truth? And because you decided to do that, you probably did do this work within yourself. That's what Virgo energy can talk about. How do I want to move forward? What do I think is just and fair? If people aren't willing to work more cooperatively in a just and fair and authentic and loving way, why do I keep staying in a relationship? And that's why Scorpio could talk about that. We're these emotionally complex human beings. We get emotionally entangled up with people, and then it can be really hard to detach from them. But we were kind of always hoping maybe things would change. And how long are we going to do that until we're willing to see the truth that things aren't changing and I need to leave? And have hope and faith and belief that the divine has a plan for my life. And every day that I'm away from people who are treating me like that is a good day. Because in the Six of Cups, it can talk about I feel more emotionally balanced within myself, just that I'm not around people who are being shadowy. Yeah, can I feel a little left out in the cold because I might not have some community or friendships or relationships in my life? Yeah, but that's where the people are like, I am willing to go through that period of feeling left out in the cold because I do believe in myself and what I think is just and fair, and that wasn't it. And as you keep walking the talk and working through it, the World card talks about being able to emotionally detach. And there could be some people seeing you move forward. Some people don't know if you've really emotionally detached. There might be people who would like to be in a friendship or relationship with you, but they might not want to be in a friendship or relationship with you until they're really sure you've emotionally detached, because they don't want to come get in a relationship with you and then you turn back to go get back in a relationship with someone else, right? And then, some people aren't seeing this clearly. It doesn't matter how you're living your life, what you're telling people. Some people think, oh, I think they're creating an illusion, whatever. And it's like, I'm just assuming there's a reason that God knows the truth about who you are or who I am. And then we have an end to indulging people in relationships. And the Nine of Cups also talks about becoming independent of some people, friends, family. It could be people you've known, the Six of Cups from childhood. It could have been some people in your family or people you grew up with. But you also were moving forward previously with a philosophy of life that could have been more focused on these things of the world. And now you're more independent of that. And maybe now able to invest in your own unique talent, skills, and interests, being more independent, and with people in your life who encourage you to be more independent and do what makes you happy, because, again, you're not doing it from ill intentions, treating other people the way you want to be treated. There could be some other people who'd like to come with you, but, just because of their life or situations, they could wish they could come with, but, they still got going on what they got going on in life. And I think you'll be happy that you became independent. It's just like when you do leave a job where it was kind of shadowy, and, doesn't mean necessarily that that's Scorpio too. Not everything you go pursue is going to work out the way you wanted, but you're kind of willing to go on the roller coaster of life. High vibe Scorpio too. I want to do the highs and lows. High vibe Scorpio is about exploring the mysteries of life. High vibe Sagittarius, I'm not going to do it recklessly and impulsively. Might have done that in the past, but if you kind of tempered your more Sagittarius energy, I have learned these lessons, and I know if I repeat some poor past patterns, I'm going to get the same result. So now I'm taking action, walking my talk, and acting with character and integrity, and out of love for myself and knowing my own worth and value. And I think as you do that, when you quit investing your time, energy, and effort into people who aren't working with you that way, and you start to move forward in your life, it opens up the opportunity to work with other people, just to go on the journey. Sagittarius is about looking at life as an adventure to go on. I'm going to go on the adventure. I'm going to see what God's got planned for me, because I think God wants to give birth to new things. That's like high vibe energy in the world of creativity and imagination and inspiration. And shadowy energy, kind of represented by the devil, doesn't want us to give birth to anything and just make our life more about us and indulgence and conformity, and say we're like those two energies battle with each other. I believe there's more to work with in this world, and I am going to invest in listening to my intuition and knowing my worth and value, putting in work and effort to invest my time, energy, and effort into things and people that are aligned with my truth. And I think as you do that, you will meet other people who have also been in relationships with people who made them feel left out in the cold and had a different philosophy of life. And those people will want to be in friendship and relationship with you, and happy to have you working with them, being their friend, or getting in relationships or marriages with them. because they don't want to be in relationships with people like that anymore either. What's coming up for some people to harness a more shadowy Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming? Okay, we have the Ace of Cups. We had a card sticking out that's not showing itself, which is the Page of Cups. And the reason it came out is because of the World card and the Justice card. So, in shadow, the Ace of Cups, the divine is trying to offer everybody, the opportunity is there. We all have free will. We can all take that cup of love to offer that love to ourselves, to free ourselves from things that manipulate us and get out of our more emotionally immature and codependent nature to get the justice we deserve. But it's a free will choice, and some people are like, nope, that's not my truth. I love the world. I think that's just and fair. Oh, I love being more about me and making my life more about the world or these things that I invest in. I think that's just and fair. And they reject their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. But they're always going to have people in their life that want to be in friendship or relationship with them that they don't realize haven't quite given up on their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And, you can always have people in your life, just like an employer can have people at a job. No, I want to stay. Yep, I'll stay in this. Yep, no, I want to keep working on this. And if it's romantic, the other people could love them, but they could be more torn, kind of going back and forth, because, there's a lot of things about this in the worldly sense that I do like, and that's what makes it hard to leave, and on top of it, I could have love for you. But eventually, those people, out of love for themselves, I can't keep doing this. And eventually, the high vibe people in their life wish them peace. And they work through emotionally detaching themselves to go get the justice they deserve. Because they've been being loving and encouraging. I don't want to hold back from you and move away from you. But it's kind of like the other people move forward, but then they go back. They move forward and then they go back. That it feels like probably over time that you're making less progress than you were when you started out. And that's when some people are like, my dream isn't going to come into reality here, or I can't make you look at life from a higher perspective. I can't make you get out of your ego or your fear or be more about yourself or your more materialistically consumed nature. Or, some people, they have a way, they have some lessons I haven't learned yet. We can learn our lessons the hard way or the easy way. And the hard way is that we'd have to be trying to be willing to change and work through some of these issues with people who are being loving and encouraging. But we think, no, I don't have to do that. I'm just going to go repeat this old pattern, and I'm going to go find people that want to do it this way. But that's them kind of aligning with their shadowy nature, and they're going to find other people who, some of the people in their life are high vibe, but some of the people that they could get in relationship with are more shadowy. And they might have to go through a real painful experience of their own to be willing to see the truth of some things that manipulate them, just like some of us have had to do. But again, those things can take years or decades, and if people aren't willing to do this work within themselves to work through it, they'll keep being drawn and attracted to people who are coming into their life basically to teach them some hard lessons. And they keep, it just depends on how stubborn and prideful they are. And if they're definitely more materialistically motivated, and then if they get in relationships with other people who are more materialistically motivated, well, if anyone else comes along that has more money, more status, more image, or if they're looking to be in relationships with people who have more fear or insecurity or lack mentality, because they like to try to manipulate people to get them, and this person would indulge me more than you indulge me, and then some people just want to indulge themselves in their ego, kind of being single, and for some reason, I don't know, I guess that would be them thinking they're living the dream, where they don't really have to do love, and it's just to indulge himself immaturely in relationships with no intention of bringing a dream into reality. And I think ultimately justice will be served, because eventually it'll get to be where, the people who've already been in relationships with them aren't going to want to be in relationships with them. They've moved on. And while other people put work and effort to heal and grow and mature themselves with people, I don't know, maybe they were always looking for the best thing, or to the perfect combination, unwilling to compromise maybe more. And they could end up feeling backstabbed and in their ego, that while other people were willing to temper it being more about them, those people moved on in relationships, and they could be in very just, fair, stable, grounded, abundant, and loving relationships. And they'll find themselves left out in the cold because they thought they'd be happy just being more about themselves, or it had to look a certain way, or I don't know, these things that they didn't realize that, shadowy energy is kind of how it clouds our vision. That's also 9 of Cups and 10 of Cups in Pisces energy. And again, this immature illusion that people can have about relationships. And again, it could be like, well, no, they have to look this way, or they have to act that way, or they have to have this status or this image, or it has to be this, or it's like, if you meet people that you love, it's in the energy of love that we can manifest true abundance and free ourselves from all of our self-limiting beliefs, and get kind of more tapped in with our creative inspired nature, that we could maybe manifest those things. But some people don't believe in themselves, and could be people who, again, they don't listen to their intuition maybe, and fearful of even listening to their intuition, and fearful of being hurt maybe in a loving relationship, that they keep thinking, I can do it the other way. I'll just make my life, I'll maybe put in work and effort to have status and image, or look a certain way, or have a certain social clout, or whatever. And I'm sure there'll be someone who then will want to be in a relationship with me for those reasons. And yeah, people can come and get in a relationship with them, but then they kind of move on, because these people, it can be kind of present themselves as just and fair and loving and willing to work together with people, and present themselves as more tempered. But the Page of Cups can be that emotionally, it's like using their emotions and their sexuality and their looks and their words and their charm all in a more superficial manner, because emotionally they reject connecting in with their Cancer, Pisces, investing in it to grow and mature it. And they're very kind of immature. And so they have these immature views of relationships, and eventually, and it is just more superficial and shallow. And that's where people are like, it might be abundant in a lot of these ways, but it is just more about the ego and the image and the status and having sex. That's shadowy Scorpio. Life's about death, sex, and taxes. What more is there? And that's what these people think. And they're maybe happy with a much more immature relationship because they're more immature. Well, they just need to find someone else who's like that. And they might have problems in a relationship that might be ones they maybe like to get out of, but they both could be codependent. And if it has these things of the world that they want, they're willing to stay in it, but they have to keep. They got a lot of healing and growing and maturing to do, but maybe together over time, they could learn some lessons together. But again, that could take practically the rest of their life. There's a maximum of 10, and some people have really learned a lot of lessons, and they keep not wanting to see the truth, and they keep acting from pride and ego, and they keep trying to manipulate and control each other because neither one maybe wants to do love or be more authentic and want to be indulged. And so could be a lot of conflict in some of those types of relationships where people are kind of more immature. But again, they also don't want to get out of it because if it looks good by worldly standards, that's the most important thing. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.